What's up guys, Colin back with another YouTube video. I'm gonna give you guys the lowdown in this one on how to set up your very own Airbnb company. And I'm talking about how to form a company, where to do that, how to get a Duns & Bradstreet number, how to set up a custom email and website, pitch deck. All these things you need to look like a serious operator so that when a landlord, messages you or calls you and says, hey Colin, what's your website? What's your Duns & Bradstreet number? You're prepared, you're not gonna look like an idiot, and you're gonna be able to close that deal. So get ready guys, take notes, do what you gotta do. I'm gonna give you the full instructions for US citizens and Canadians, guys. As an added bonus, you guys know I'm Canadian, living in the US, running my business here in the US, so I'm gonna give you the breakdown if you're Canadian, wanting to stay in Canada and run this business, if you're Canadian and wanting to do the E2 visa to move to the US, or if you're just American, you're already here, you just wanna run a new business, make more money. I'm gonna give you all three options so that you can set up your company to be compliant. Before I get started, I'm gonna have to state this. Unfortunately, today's day and age, guys, I am not a licensed CPA. I am just giving you my thoughts and insights on my journey, how I was able to set up my companies, stuff I've learned along the way, but like always, get legal advice from a licensed lawyer and CPA. Make sure that you're compliant on your end because there can be some heavy consequences, if you are operating illegally, you're not, paying taxes properly and stuff like this. So once again, I'm not a licensed CPA. Take my knowledge for what it is, but also get it checked against a licensed CPA and a lawyer's recommendation. I'm gonna start with American citizens first because it is the least complicated of both processes. And now if you've never started a company before, I highly recommend using a CPA or someone that has set up a company before. Not that it's overly complicated, but it's always nice to have someone that's gonna guide you from A to Z. Make sure that you're setting up your company based off of your personal circumstances, as there are a few options, when doing this process. I have someone like this in my program. Her name's Lisa. She's a cross-border specialist, so she can do Canada and the US. She's helped me out a ton. She's set up lots of my students' companies. Make sure they're compliant. She does bookkeeping. She does everything. She's a great resource. So if you do decide to join my program or my community, you will get access to a consult with her. You can decide whether you want to use her or not, but I am going to explain to you how you can do it on your own in case that's a route you want to take. Enough with all the rambling. What site do I prefer to use for company formation? I've used Taylor Brands before, I've used Sunbiz because I'm in Florida, but the site that I prefer and that I recommend to most of my students is doula.com. All those other sites are great, but I think doula.com is very straightforward. It's very easy to understand. It dumbs things down for you. So when you've never set up a company before, you don't necessarily know if you need an LLC or a C Corp, S Corp. It's gonna give you information on each option. Like I said, I think you should always consult with a CPA on what structure to go with. But for the Airbnb arbitrage business, the most popular one is going to be the LLC structure. That's gonna be the simple, least complicated. You can have unlimited ownership. If you wanna issue shares, then you would have to go with a C Corp. But most likely with this business, if you're starting off on your own, LLC is gonna be the way to go. Until you start making some serious money, then you're gonna have to talk with your CPA. Is it better to stay in LLC or is it better to change into an S Corp based off the deductions that you're taking? And that can be done in the future with a simple piece of paper sent to the IRS. So what I'm recommending for most people when they start this business is to just set up an LLC. It's a pass-through ownership, so whatever money you make, pass-throughs to you, the owners. It's very simple, and I do recommend that if you're planning on operating in multiple states, you can do a holding co. Delaware, Wyoming are great states for holding co's, and then you can register a foreign office in the states that you're operating in to stay compliant because you're gonna have to pay tax in those states where you're making money, right? And if you're kind of minding your budget, you don't have a ton of money to waste right now, you don't wanna form a holding co and then register in the state that you get your first Airbnb and have to deal with a little bit more compliance and a little bit more money up front, what you should do is you should register your company in the state that you're going to be operating in. So if you know, hey, I'm gonna get units in this state, that's where you should start. That's where you should register. You can always change the formation later. You can always start a holding company, put that company under that company. I see a lot of people do this when they first get into the business. They're so hell-bent on just like getting the right structure, making sure everything's perfect from the get-go, which is great, but I see that it holds a lot of them back from just getting started. Right? You haven't made any money yet, so don't fucking worry about taxes. You haven't got an Airbnb yet, so don't worry about your company that much. A lot of these landlords may even make you sign a lease in your personal name. I have a lot of leases in my personal name too. Do you actually need a company formation to run this business? No, obviously you want to for, the protection and the tax advantages and whatnot, so that's why we do it. But a lot of people get hung up on just forming the company, and it's not gonna make a massive difference no matter what you do. So especially in the beginning when you're not making money. So that's a little piece of advice I can give to newbies if you're watching this, to just form your company. Do a Delaware, do a Wyoming, and then register somewhere else. Or if I'm gonna be in the state, register there on a structure and you've picked that. Doula's gonna take you to another page that's basically gonna give you 3 options. It's gonna give you a starter option, it's gonna give you some mid-tier option, and then it's gonna give you like a business in the box type option, which is like $2,000. You don't need the second or third option. All you need is the basic starter option. That's gonna give you your company formation and an EIN number, which is what you're gonna need to open up a business bank account and to put on Airbnb and to start running your business. And that's basically all you need to do to set up your own company as a US citizen. Because you have a social security number, you can get an EIN within like 24 hours, whereas Canadians, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks. So you have a huge benefit. You can set your company up really quick. Doula will also ask you if you want to do an expedited, formation. I think it's like $300. That's something you can choose based on your timeline and your budget. If you can wait a week or two, save the $300. If you need it there and then, do the express formation and you'll get everything a lot quicker. Now, as a Canadian, you're gonna follow the same steps I just went over as a US citizen would, but I wanna note a few differences that you're gonna have to mind based off of what you plan on doing. So if you plan on remaining in Canada and staying a tax resident of Canada, and you would just like to operate this business in the US remotely, then you can't do an LLC. You're gonna have to do a C Corp or an LP structure. This is going to avoid double taxation. Now, if you are thinking about doing the E2 visa and you eventually want to relocate to the US and you're gonna exit Canada as a tax resident, you can do an LLC or S Corp, even a C Corp structure. So maybe best bet, if you plan to do an E2 visa in the future, best bet is probably to go with a C Corp. Just in case you change your mind, then you don't have to change company structure. But if you are for sure going to go to the US like I did, I started an LLC right from the get-go. I did a holding company in Wyoming, and now I have multiple LLCs under that holding company. I've never changed structure. I haven't went to an S Corp yet. I have an amazing CPA, and until she instructs me to do otherwise, I'm going to take her advice and just leave things as an LLC. So know that if you're setting up a company as a Canadian, it can take potentially 1 to 2 months to get your EIN number, and then you're also gonna need an ITIN number after that as well, which you can pay Doula to get for you. And that's gonna take even longer than the EIN. I think mine took 3 or 4 months. It depends whatever the wait time is for that, that process at the time. Doula does offer an express service for the EIN as well. I think you can get it in as little as 4 weeks instead of 8 to 10 weeks. So if you're in a rush, this is another thing that you can pay for. You can still operate on Airbnb without an EIN, but they will withhold 30% taxes. So if you get a booking for $1,000, Airbnb is only gonna pay you 700 of it. They're gonna withhold the 30% until you submit your EIN on your Airbnb account, and then they will pay out that balance that they've been withholding. Now that your company formation is set up, the next thing I would suggest doing is head over to Dun & Bradstreet to get a DUNS number. This is basically a number that's gonna be linked to your business credit profile. It's gonna just tell, maybe potential buildings about your credit worthiness and stuff like that. Personally, I've never been asked for it, and I've got over 100 units, right? So it's not something that comes up in this business a lot. Some of the apartment buildings and corporate housing models, they will ask for it and they will not work with you if you don't have one. Majority of apartment buildings and just regular single family landlords are not gonna ask you for this number. Now, if you want to spend the money and roll in their Credit Builder Plus program, you can. I'm sure it helps, but it's just an extra cost. One thing I would recommend doing though is you could do, once you've got the DUNS number, you can go to Granger, Uline, and Quill, and you can basically do a small order, you know, pens, toilet paper, little things like that. These are net 30 accounts. And then what you're gonna wanna do on your checkout is make sure you put in that DUNS number. They'll report back to Duns & Bradstreet, you know, 60 to 90 days later, and then that will add some credit to your profile. A few things that I think go hand in hand with company formation and just having a professional online presence. And that's having a custom domain, a custom website, and a custom pitch deck. All three things you will need for this business. The email is not so much mandatory, but it goes a lot further with a potential landlord or property manager if you look serious, and serious businesses have custom domains. And once you get a custom domain to your, you know, whatever your company name is, say your company's name is C Stays or whatever, you would get a domain that says Colin Stays or cstays.com. Buy your domain through GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy.com is extremely easy. Then go over to Google G Suite, create a custom email. It could be colin@cstays.com, whatever you want. For me, I do info, and then I have other, you know, emails based off of cities, based off employees, and they just always are at my domain. So it looks very professional. If I'm emailing someone, one of my employees is emailing someone, if we're getting invoices somewhere, simple way that you can make your business look extra professional. Now, once you've created your custom domain, you're gonna wanna set up a custom website. If you've never done a website before, don't worry about it. I'm gonna explain to you in a few different ways how you can get that done. But having a custom website in this business is very important because landlords and property managers, they are probably gonna ask you, hey, can we see your company site? For creating a company website, you can head over to sites like Fiverr. You can hire someone off there for fairly cheap to make you your own website and connect it to your domain. Basically give them your criteria. Hey, here's my logo, this is my colors, here's my company information, this is what I would like my website to say. Stay away from saying things like Airbnb, stick to, you know, corporate rentals, furnished rentals, vacation rentals, and more high-end, you know, verbiage. Put nicer pictures on there, put your company information, put a contact page, operation or markets that you operate in, maybe some pictures of your listings if you already have them. If not, you can just use some general, you know, pictures that would look good on the site. That's all you really need. I've only had a handful of landlords ask me for my website in the past, and you know, I have a very just dumbed down dummy website that passes the sniff test, essentially, is what we want in this business. We just want a landlord to look at it and say, okay, this is a professional company. Especially when you're dealing with older people, they really like to say, hey, do you have a website? Doesn't really matter what's on it, but if you don't have one, they're gonna be like, why doesn't this person have a website? And then you're gonna lose the deal. So that's kind of the whole purpose behind the professional website. If you are a part of my program, we do have this website service. I basically have a template for my website. We just recreate it with your company and business information, and then you're good to go. And the last thing I highly recommend that you should have for your business is a custom pitch deck. Now, I got this from one of my old mentors. I've just basically repurposed it for my students because I think it's a great tool and it has all the information you need in it. I've made some changes that I think are more relevant, you know, to today's business outlook and what landlords and property managers are looking for. If you want a copy of this, I don't mind to give it to you. If you're watching this video, I'm gonna post a link to my pitch deck. And this is a great tool that you can use to send to landlords and property managers. When you call them, you know, maybe they might say, hey, can you send me a little bit of information on your business model, your website, this and that. So you can reply to them in your email with your custom domain email, and you could say, hey, this is my website. This is a pitch deck about, you know, my company and the business we do. And it basically gives a landlord who's maybe never worked with corporate leasing or short-term rental arbitrage businesses before information about the business, insurance we cover, who we rent to, how we screen guests. Basically, we'll answer all the questions that a landlord or property manager is gonna have for, like, hey, who are you and what is this business? So that's it, guys. If you thought this video was helpful, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to build the channel. I wanna give you guys all the free game that I could possibly give you because I just wanna see people succeed at this point. I've made it. I've got everything I want in life. Beautiful family, amazing business. I moved from Canada to the US. I got the supercars. I can travel whenever I want. This business has given me so much, and now I get a lot of fulfillment out of helping you guys, you know, succeed in the same way that I did. Like and subscribe, guys, and stay tuned for the next one.